Good afternoon and welcome to the Federal Executive Forum celebrating 21 years of profiling excellence in government IT mission programs. I'm Luke McCormack. During today's show, we will discuss best practices with IT modernization programs and strategies in the federal government. With me on today's show are Alan Strunk, G6 Director, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Melanie Cannon, Chief Information Officer, Bureau of Diplomatic Security, Department of State, Richard Matthews, Head of Solutions Consulting Americas at NextThink, Michael Mitchell, Senior Vice President of Sales Engineering at Ivanti, and John Larage, Associate Director, Public Sector Sales at Verizon. We're talking about IT modernization. Alan, we're going to start with you. I look at you all as the Delta Force of engineers in the Army. Give us a state of what you all are doing over there as far as what the role is and all the new direction with the new leadership over there.
Good afternoon, Luke, and it's definitely great to be here. I've been with the Army Corps of Engineers for about 6 years and spent about 37 of those years in federal service. And my career has always been really centered on signal, cyber, and data. But, every organization applies those just a little bit differently. And USACE has definitely been the most unique, both in scale and how directly the mission shows up in people's lives. And so, generally, when people hear Corps of Engineers, they usually think of dams, levees, or dredging. And that's really
Mhm.
part of the story, but the mission is much broader. And we're there after hurricanes, helping communities recover. We're building critical infrastructures like hospitals for our veterans. And, we're supporting warfighters around the world. And it's a mission that, just it doesn't slow down and it doesn't operate in a controlled environment. It's dynamic, it's global, it's often under pressure. And then, one day you're supporting steady state operations, and then the next you're responding to, real world events where speed and coordination matter immediately. And what holds all of that together is a massive, complex, and absolutely critical IT enterprise. And we're supporting tens of thousands of users across hundreds of sites. We're managing global network, multiple data centers, and a large portfolio of mission systems that have to be available when they're needed the most. And so my job, and really the job across the CIO G6, is to make sure that the foundation is secure, resilient, and performing in a way that enables the mission, not slow it down. And that really means thinking beyond just keeping systems online. It's about how we modernize responsibly. It's how we reduce complexity. It's how we make smarter investments and how we ensure that every dollar that we spend is tied back to the mission impact. And it's also about preparing the organizations for where those directions are going, whether that's cloud, data integration, or the increasing role of analytics and AI in decision making. So, because at the end of the day, the expectation is really simple, and it's technology just has to work, and it has to be there when a district is responding to a disaster, when a commander needs real-time information, or even when a project team is delivering something critical to the nation. And if we do our job right, it really becomes invisible in the best possible way. And it just enables our engineers, our leaders, and our teams to deliver without friction. So that's really what drives our approach. And it's about reliability, it's about trust, and it's about making sure that the mission never really slows down because of technology. And I'm looking forward to getting into that with you today.
Right technology at the right place at the right time. I love it. Melanie, you are also involved in a very, I don't want to say small but mighty, but certainly mighty and certainly global. Give us a state of the state about how things are going over there at Diplomatic Security.
Good afternoon, Luke. Good afternoon, colleagues. Things are going great. I was just listening to some of the things that Alan was saying, and I was like, hey, that's kind of our world as well. A little broader than diplomatic security. You all may be aware that a few months ago, the Department of State as a whole, we went through a major reorganization. And that major reorganization took diplomatic technology, which is the IT arm for the department under CIO Kelly Fletcher, Dr. Fletcher. They collapsed a lot of IT functions under that particular bureau. My bureau, Diplomatic Security, along with a few others, we remained outliers, but we have our own CIO entities. So although I have a a small but mighty part of the law enforcement arm for the Department of State, we still are connected tissue with the larger of the organization with diplomatic technology. Right now, we're going through a lot of building blocks with the consolidation. They have the enterprise operations of many things, but I am all enterprise operations of all things law enforcement for the Department of State, hence diplomatic security. We are, of course, a global mission. You know, our mission is diplomacy. Every place you have a embassy or consulate, you have someone from diplomatic security in those areas. So just listening to some of the things that Alan was talking about, yeah, we're a lot of mission focused, looking at how we use biometrics, how interagency agreements are connected through technology means and things of that nature. But peeling it back, we are making strong progress in the people internal part as well, where we're trying to lessen, don't want to use the word burden, but I'll just use it for the sake of using it, lessen the burden of the daily, maybe tedious type of task, filling out a leave form and things of that nature. Folks may not do it routinely. They have to remember what system to go to and things of that nature. We're integrating AI and all of these other technologies into, hey, you just go into the system and say, fill out a leave form. It knows the process. We're also looking at a uniform across the department, time and attendance. It may sound, kind of minimum to some, but where you have an agency where it's kind of segregated in some areas, again, law enforcement, my guys, my gals, they are responsible for the law enforcement pay. They have to report when they're on these security details and all of these other things. That's not typical. I just fill out a leave form and it's very easy and I don't have all of these extra pays. But we have these special categories that are not typically captured. So we've just embarked across the agency I'm sitting on the executive board review for GovTA that we kind of heard from another agency that they've been using it, and it captures all of the categories. So I just say this, in addition to all of the mission focus, the services that we deliver to our US SITs and diplomacy across the globe, we're also doing that internal look to see how we can lighten the load for our colleagues across the department as a whole.
Absolutely. Emerging technologies such as AI and others, super important and make things a lot better. But there's some food, water, and shelter, sort of blocking type of capabilities that one must always make sure are there as well. Richard, tell us about NextThink. Welcome to the show, first of all. And NextThink, as I understand it, is certainly a superpower in the private sector, becoming a force in the public sector. When I think about technology, right place, right time, you're all about making sure that happens.
Yeah, thanks and for the warm welcome, Luke, and it's great to be here with the rest of the team today. So yeah, I mean, look, next thing, we're all about improving that employee experience, right? From a colleague, from a mission, it really doesn't matter. We want to remove, I think it was you that said it, Alan, right? Technology just has to work. When you're in a mission, when you're doing something critical on a government project or an initiative, you're a citizen trying to get access to something. You don't want the technical blockers to get in your way. And that's really where NextThink focuses. And what we're starting to see in the government sector is federal agencies are investing a lot in the modernization with, I think, Melanie, you referred to it, right? With the consolidation, with the changes in government, there's a lot going on. And we're still seeing challenges, operational challenges that teams are having with being able to do some simple tasks on a day-to-day basis. Research has recently shown that about 80% of DoD personnel rate their digital experience as average or worse. So their ability to do their job using the technology they're given isn't great. And that's really highlighting this gap between the modernization initiatives that are being pushed out and driven and the actual experience of the user, the actual experience of the colleague on the mission, right, to get the job done. So we're really trying to help government agencies to drive that forward and help them modernize the right way. And a lot of that is about IT users, colleagues, citizens being stuck in this reactive mode of trying to fix things, trying to address things when they happen, versus trying to remove those blockers proactively or preventatively so that they don't get in the way of their day-to-day ability to do their job. And as the mandate and the drive to do more with less, the reduction in headcount, etc., it really is putting extra pressure on the agencies, on the departments, to get things done quicker. And that's really what we're trying to help drive. And agencies need the tool to help them prevent these issues and enable the colleagues, the staffing to do the job at the best of their abilities.
We really appreciate everything that you're doing and are going to be doing. Michael, how about at Evante? There's all these moving parts, lots of different technologies, lots of different vendors. Somebody's got to stitch all these things together and make it work. Insert Avanti, if I understand right, but let you tell us.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Luke. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me on this morning. Yeah, at Avanti, we look to break down the walls and the challenges between all the different technologies. We certainly see on a regular basis how much the different silos in whether it's government agencies or in private business, where that is a big problem with being able to solve issues on a daily basis, especially security related issues when it takes time to get an understanding of what's going on in the environment, be able to come up with an attack plan for how to fix it, and then implement that plan. We know that a lot of times the biggest issue is the handoff between those different stages. So we focus heavily on what we call the three A's, right? Advise, assist, and automate, where we can provide a few different layers of understanding of what's going on in the environment by providing significant visibility of the devices, the users, and all the data. Assist by providing intelligence around that information. So more than just here is the data, but what's the intelligence behind it? How can I use this to infuse the decisions I'm going to make? And then finally, the automation, right? Taking the data from one silo to another, being able to enact a plan to remediate issues, as well as the final communication back to users, right? So you've got your endpoint security focus, your endpoint management focus, as well as kind of your service delivery and service management focus. So we bridge the gap between those different areas to make our customers significantly more agile and put them in a better place to be effective. And from taking it to a modern perspective, for us, it's really about how do we make that faster? How do we automate more things, provide visibility into specifically what's going on so that we can give you insight and recommendations on exactly what steps to take, because very often we're paralyzed by the number of decisions we have to make. So being able to recommend what the next action should be based on the situation is a heavy focus for us, right? So it's really take that problem, break it down into the pieces, and automate as much of that as possible.
Fantastic, and we really do appreciate it. John, none of this happens unless we have not only plumbing, but sophisticated plumbing anywhere, anytime, and certainly reliable at high rates, et cetera, must be secure. Insert Verizon. Give us a state of the state as to what's cooking over there these days.
So we're very very busy at Verizon right now, but we really go back to the core, and really it's understanding the customer, understanding the agency, understanding where they want to be in the near future, and where would they want to be in the future. Understanding your inventory. One of the biggest things that we see is that a lot of agencies are not sure of what they have. There's so much disparate services, different technologies that are out there. So and then to also be able to understand what Verizon's capabilities are. And we don't do it alone. We do it as a team. We have a team that works together. And then internally, we have our partners, and then we have the agency. So we do it all together. And it's the right technology at the right time. Today, we can talk about moving from TDM to Ethernet. We can talk about satellite. We can talk about 4G, 5G, capabilities of 6G in the future. So we look at different ways that we can help you with your mission. If it's a disaster, we're going to manage that a little bit differently. We're going to use our Verizon frontline team and different technologies to get that done. So it's really understanding the customer, the right contract with the right technology.
Fantastic, and we love that. Melanie, we're going to roll into a specific example, and I know you've got probably a dump truck load or two full, But how about if you'd like to highlight, an effort that you all are working on that you'd like to illuminate for the audience here?
Certainly. And I'll just say again in the people focus part. I love how John just said that the right technology at the right time. Um, Operationalizing things that we do, trying to make streamline the efforts that's happening across the organization, making the workload faster, quicker, whatever for the staff members. One of the efforts that we recently has undertaken, uh, we look at we get FOIA requests all the time. I'm sure you all, the other agencies as well, you receive these FOIA requests. People want information about things that are happening in your organization. Sometimes the things that they're looking for, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of pages, things of that nature. I'm looking at when we talked about automation, I believe Michael had hit on that earlier as well. When we look at Luke, you said something about AI after I last spoke. When we look at these things, how do we make it faster? How do we become more efficient? We're looking at how we're taking AI technology to look through thousands of thousands and multiple sources, sometimes siloed in different platforms and APIs or whatever, are tying these things together. And they're able to come out and produce a report that the human time was taken 10 to 15 days, where when we're infusing the technology part, we can get this information in less than an hour, right? Yes, there's still that human factor that has to go in there. They have to go and make sure that it makes sense, but if you ask the right questions, normally you're going to receive the right answers. So this is just one of many small efforts that we're making, investing in the people side to help make their jobs more efficient daily. And Luke, one thing, I saw you sip on your EO cup, and I don't know if that's E.O, but we're tying all of these things into the various executive orders. One of the ones that always pops up is that 14110, where it talks about our responsibility with the adoption of AI capabilities and things of that nature. So you brought that to my reminder when I saw you sip on your cup.
Well, with all due respect to OMB, it's not EO, it's Leo, which
Oh, it's
is
Leo. I didn't see that
it's
L. I
the
just saw the
yeah,
EO.
it's the leadership. If I can see that, I don't know if you can see that, but the leadership program that many of us participate in, trying to give back to the emerging leaders, so to speak.
Well, I thank you for giving
Yeah.
back.
So, but I have mad respect for OMB, and I want to say that on the record. I love me some EOs. All right. Well, listen, we're going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about IT modernization, transformation, etc. We're getting into use cases. I want to throw it over to you, Richard. Let's start with you, Richard, and talk about a use case that you'd like to highlight with NextThing.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. So I'm going to give a bit of a story around a large government systems integrator we've been working with for a few years now. And they were having a challenge and needed to transform their IT operations from a reactive state of just troubleshooting when things happened to more of a proactive data-driven model using the NextThing solution. So initially, they lacked visibility into the real challenges users were facing. They have a 30,000 endpoint estate, so 30,000 desktops and laptops that are being used by their employees. And they had a number of issues, things like slow PCs from high CPU usage, application crashes, network challenges that were stopping them from connecting. And all of these were able to persist unnoticed because the traditional monitoring tools didn't really focus on the end user. They focused on the back-end infrastructure. So they operationalized NextThing. They operationalized a whole approach around changing the way they looked at things. They put a team in place to focus on not just the process, the technology, but also having the right people in place, modifying their processes and focusing on the value and the impact they can have, communicating all that out to their employees. And what they saw was by using the AI insights provided by NextThing, introducing automation using some workflow capabilities that we have, and collaborating across the different departments through security, compliance teams, etc. They saw a much deeper visibility of what was going on and gain control over those endpoint performance issues. And the result was pretty staggering and very measurable. What they saw was a 65% reduction in those incidents that were causing the slow PC from high CPU usage. So 65% reduction in people having slow machines, that had an impact on their ability to deliver the mission for the government agencies they're working with and impacted their ability to do that efficiently. They also were able to see, and one of the areas that we see a lot of government agencies interested in is how do we look at software that's not being used? How do we right size our hardware that we're deploying? Both John and Melanie talked about, having the right tech at the right time to do the right job. Well, that's really what performance-based hardware right sizing is all about. So by looking at those things, they saved 150,000 in cost avoidance just through license optimization and self-healing. And we're working with other customers that are seeing hundreds, if not millions of dollars in saving by doing performance-based hardware refresh. What that really means is rather than me refreshing my laptop, my hardware on a 3-year, 4-year contract, I'm actually looking at the devices that we can keep for a bit longer. I'm looking at redeploying devices that might be overperformant or too performant for the job they're doing today into an area where they're needed. And that really does impact the businesses and the government agencies' ability to save money, but also improve operational efficiency and ability to deliver against the mission.
No question. And I think about quite frankly, the thousands of employee hours being saved there by better productivity is incredible. So
Absolutely.
a lot of efficiency gains and a lot of opportunity there. So we appreciate it. Alan, no question that you've got a lot of different opportunities going on over there, got a lot of new leadership in place, a nice, crisp North Star commander's intent, whatever you want to call it. You all are off and running over there. Give us an example of something that you all are focused on right now, or maybe you'd like to highlight.
Yeah, if I was to give you a one word sort of example, Luke, it would be OrgNet convergence, right? Is our big piece. But I
What's it
kind of
called
want to
again?
OrgNet conversion,
Okay,
organizational network convergence.
gotcha.
But really, there's a lot of different elements that are associated to that. And I kind of want to dive into that a little bit. So it's important to understand our progress isn't really a collection of these disconnected projects, right? It's really driven by a clear strategy that what we call and developed by our CIO, Mr. Jason Barrett, the 6 strategic pillars. And that gives us a way to really stay focused and disciplined, especially in the environment this large and complex. So everything that we do ties back to some of these pillars. So the first is network convergence, part of OrgNet convergence. And we're modernizing our network alongside the Army and DISA. And that creates a hybrid model that gives us the standardization that we need while still, supporting the unique requirements of our civil works and emergency response missions. So for the people that are actually doing the work, that really shows up in very practical ways. Um, Fewer outages, faster access, and more reliable connectivity when it matters most. Our second is data center consolidation. And as we talked about before, moving from 4 data centers down to 2, that's not just
Mhm.
a footprint reduction. It's really about getting off a legacy infrastructure, reducing those costs, building a more resilient, secure hybrid cloud environment that we can scale over time. Our third piece is software rationalization. We've identified over 2,800 applications across our enterprise, and that level of sprawl really creates cost risk and complexity. So we're really taking a disciplined approach to reducing that footprint, eliminating the redundancy, improving interoperability, and then strengthening our cybersecurity posture at the same time. Our fourth piece is CIO G6 alignment. And that strategy, the bottom line piece on this, Luke, is strategy doesn't execute itself, right? So we've taken a hard look at how we're organized internally, how we operate, and we're aligning our structure, our processes, and our resources so that strategy, operations, and budget are all moving in the same direction. Fifth is our cloud strategy, and I'm going to be very deliberate here. The cloud to us is a tool, not a goal, right? We're working closely with the system owners to determine where cloud adoption makes sense from both operational and financial standpoint. And if it doesn't clearly improve performance or reduce that cost, we're not going to pursue it, right? Just to say that we did. And then the last piece is data centricity. So we're treating data as a strategic asset, not a byproduct. That includes standing up a C2 DAO or Command Chief Data Analytics Officer division. And that's building the governance and the structure that we needed to turn data into something that actually drives decisions across the enterprise. And when you really step back, none of these stand alone. They reinforce each other, and it's a coordinated effort to reduce that complexity and then strengthen the foundation and really position the enterprise to move faster and make better decisions. And ultimately, it's all aimed at one thing, and that's making sure that the technology is keeping pace with the mission and not holding it back.
Absolutely. And you all are absolutely on a tear there. Extremely impressive outline of activities. And we look forward to getting an update at some point as to how
Absolutely.
all those various initiatives are doing. Appreciate everything that you're doing over there. John, how about at Verizon? A lot of different activities going on there. Why don't you give us a specific example you'd like to highlight of some of this technology that you're inserting that's really unlocking a capability at an agency or across the globe or what have you?
So as Alan was stating, there's more data being utilized, more data that needs to be stored. We're moving to the cloud. So what we're doing is we're looking at what is the best technology, as well as what is the best contract. We've moved a lot of agencies to a new EIS contract. It's not new
Hmm.
anymore. We've been doing it for several years. But what
Yes.
that has done is that has lowered the cost of acquisition and given multiple different product sets that our customers can take advantage of. So now we look at what is the mission, what are you looking to accomplish, and then we insert that right technology there. One of the things we've done is when you look at the way that um, things are done today, let's say at the border. Well, they're using a tactical awareness kit. That's a cell phone that has the capabilities of computers from many years ago and gives them situational awareness, gives them the ability to know where they're at, where the bad guy is. Also, that information is shared across not only that user but also across all of CBP. So when we look at the technology, we Alan talked about it a little while ago. Years ago, it was a computer. Now it's a tablet. Now it's a cell phone, and really integrating all that data where everybody can see it real time.
Absolutely. And you brought up a good point about, aging technology in these kits and the fact that things are evolving very quickly. And certainly Verizon's right there to fit that bill. Michael, how about at Avante? You talked about a lot of different things that you all are doing, can be doing, have been doing. You want to give us a specific example in
Yeah,
one of these agencies?
for sure. I talked a bit about visibility and sort of the opening of the discussion, and I think visibility is one of those things where as you get a little bit deeper, you realize, well, I might have had this information, it was in different systems, and how do I coordinate that better? As you know, for us at a specific agency, we're in a great situation where they were already using tools for examining the environment and trying to get an understanding of what the configuration looked like, how they should secure it properly, especially for your scenarios where you have kind of forward deployed personnel. It was really important that the data was as real time as possible so that they could be very agile. With our tooling, we're able to take the information from those disparate systems, tie it to the data that we had from our mobility platform, and be able to get an idea of not just the kind of locally available devices, but also those remote staff and remote devices. Being able to leverage our capabilities, we put put ourselves in a situation where from a reporting perspective, we immediately knew things that were going on. Using our mobile threat defense, we could lock down when devices were out of compliance immediately and be able to build the right rules based on the types of scenarios we knew those devices were in. Also, scenarios where things like BYOD and government furnished equipment come into play, where the classification and the type of policy and configuration we want to apply would be slightly different depending on what the use case looked like. That visibility put us in a position to much better help our agency be in a position to configure appropriately and get the work done that they needed to do for their mission.
Absolutely. And we really do appreciate that excellent example. And I'm sure they appreciate it as well. Let's talk about priorities. And I know there's always a lot of them. Alan, let's start with you. You've got some commander's intent there. You laid out a bunch of activities for 2026, the rest of 2026. Top couple of priorities for you that you're going to be focusing on every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for the next year and this year, so I'm really focused on really three big rocks that are critical in the moving our modernization effort forward in a meaningful way. These are the areas that we're going to get the most leverage if we execute them well, and that's the key piece. Got to execute those things well, right? So, first is Army 365, Microsoft Army 365 migration.
Hmm.
We're in the middle of that transition now, and it's more complex than it might appear from the outside. We're not just moving users, we're moving the way that the organization works. And so we have hundreds of thousands of dashboards, reports, and workflows that have really been built over time. And all those have to be refactored to operate effectively in a new environment. And we can't afford to disrupt the flow of information that leaders depend on every day. So we're taking a very deliberate approach. It's about balancing speed with stability. We're making progress while still maintaining trust in the data in the system. Our second piece is data rationalization. With over the 9 petabytes of data and more than 2,800 applications that we've accumulated over the years, that creates complexity, redundancy, and risk. So we're really taking a disciplined approach to cleaning that up, understanding what data that we have, where it lives, how it's being used, and what we actually need to keep. And the same applies to our application portfolio. And until we get that under control, it's very difficult really to fully realize the benefits of any modern infrastructure that we put in place. And the third is our data warehouse modernization. So right now, we're operating on an older IBM Netezza platform. It's been a solid system, but it's reaching the point where we need to transition to something more scalable and better aligned with where the Army's going. So we're piloting the Army's Vantage platform as a potential path forward, but we're also being pragmatic here. So in the near term, we're investing in a hardware refresh to stabilize our current environment, and that gives ourselves the time to really make the right long-term decision. And all three of these efforts are tightly connected. The A365 migration drives how people access and use the data. Data rationalization reduces the noise and complexity in our system, and then the warehouse modernization really gives us the backbone to actually process and analyze that data at scale. And if we get these three areas right, we don't just modernize the environment, we create a much cleaner, more reliable, more usable foundation for the entire enterprise. And that's really the goal. It's not modernization for its own sake. I want to make that clear. It's making sure that the environment is structured in a way that really allows everything else to move faster with more confidence.
No doubt all his employees will absolutely be delighted when you fulfill those promises. Mike, how about at Avanti? Top two priorities that you all are focused on this year?
Yeah, for us, really, it kind of goes back to automation. The biggest issue I would say is that as much as we can deliver automation capability, there's still an appetite that agencies have to consume that, right? And there are things that you have to get comfortable with. There is data that you have to get better awareness around. So for us, it's really around making really strong pathways for agencies to be able to consume it easier, providing a level of security to kind of what those capabilities look like, and tying that back to the mission that they have, right? Really understanding what is the core of what they're using our solutions for. Maybe it's something as simple as, getting better awareness around security posture, right? I just need to know what's going on, and be able to take action at the appropriate times, especially as we think about how we're modernizing the visibility around those devices and how they're configured. That sort of next step around taking the appropriate action, some of those things are done in a very manual way today, even if we and when we deliver kind of automated capability. So for us, it's providing the right awareness for our customers and continuing to strengthen the capabilities from an automation standpoint so they get more comfortable with that capability as they move forward and grow with the solution.
Excellent. Melanie.
Our top priorities center on operationalizing our environment, the things that we've already built, right? While also maintaining a strong security presence as well. So we can talk.
Hmm.
We haven't talked about zero trust or infused that just yet in the conversation, but we know that that's important for us in the federal government. Also, this continuing to mature our data environment. I've heard that a few times by my colleagues on this call. Just ensuring that it's accessible, it's trusted, it's actionable, and it across the entire enterprise to include what we do in agency wide. So those are some of the areas that we continue to look forward to in the future for modernization.
Absolutely, and look forward to seeing those realized. John, top priorities for Verizon 2026.
So internally, one of the biggest changes for us is AI and automation. How do we
Mhm.
utilize, how do we do more with less? And how do we share our best practices with the federal government? Where have we seen where we can save money, but also be more productive and being able to share that? We also did an acquisition of Frontier. So growing our network and being able so our customers can utilize that our network so that they can do their mission much better as well as we see that the pipes are getting bigger. And so we need to find ways to continue to allow for that to be secure, for that information to flow, and that it's saved where it needs to be saved.
Absolutely, and we look forward to the laser focus attention in 2026 on those various activities. Richard, top priority for NextThink, top two for NextThink in 2026.
Top two. Okay. So I think the first is really just continuing the mission we're on, which is all about, or for the federal partners and customers we work with, is about ensuring the mission systems remain stable and resilient. And that's all about improving that operational visibility across the endpoints, across the applications. And what we're really trying to do there is help the organization reduce ticket volumes through automated resolutions and proactive remediation so that we remove the blockers before they happen. So that's always a top priority for us because we are about, driving that digital employee experience. The second one, and a big one we're seeing, and it's been mentioned multiple times already, is around AI. But what we're seeing and what we're trying to do is help organizations understand AI usage in their environment. We were recently talking to an Air Force general who oversees the procurement function, and he had contracting officers that were trying to get, or he was trying to get them to use NIPA GPT to generate RFPs in a more efficient manner and then to score the responses. The challenge he had was half the group didn't even know NIPA GPT existed, and the other half of the group thought it was illegal and they weren't allowed to use it. So the
Mm.
uptake was very, very low. So we developed a product last year which we call AI Drive, and it's really monitors the usage of AI across the environment. It allows you to see who's using it, potentially what they're using it for, and what different types of AI are in the environment that people are being exposed to. And we're helping organizations and federal customers there to really be able to understand that, communicate, and drive the correct AI adoption, whilst also putting the right safeguarding pieces in place, which we know are very crucial with information that's being shared with these AI tools. So we're seeing a huge push around that, huge initiatives. There's the government AI initiative right now, right, to adopt AI and drive it, but there's also fear and concern over how it's being used. And that's really what we're trying to help people address.
I think it's excellent that you all can put some instrumentation in place there, or they can put some instrumentation in place with your help to realize and see what is actually happening and not happening, right? And then start to institute some of these capabilities to change that and allow them to adopt the technology responsibly, of course. All right, we're
Agreed.
going to take a short break and we'll be right back. You're listening to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We're talking about IT modernization, transformation. We're getting into one of my favorite questions, which is lessons learned. None of these things are easy. They always come with battle scars. Alan, I'm going to start with you. What's your top lessons learned for as you're on this journey that you'd like to impart on the listening audience here?
Well, that's a great question because
Good or bad lessons learned, right?
right. Yeah, we've definitely learned some things along the way, and I'd probably boil it down to three key takeaways that shaped how we approach modernization now. So first, this is not a marathon, right? Or this is a marathon, not a sprint. And there's a tendency to want to really do quick wins or visible progress, but real modernization, especially at the scale that we're operating, it really takes time and discipline, and that's why we're very deliberate in how we approach things like cloud. For us, it's a tool, not a goal. We're not chasing trends or trying to check a box. We're really focused on making decisions that are sustainable, that reduce risk over time, and then, of course, actually deliver value to the mission. Second, you can't do it alone. Partnership is absolutely critical. We're working very closely with industry, but also with the broader Army and DISA enterprise. And there's already a tremendous amount of capability and experience out there. And the worst thing that we could do is try to rebuild everything ourselves in isolation. So a
Amen.
big part of our approach is understanding where we can leverage existing infrastructure, where we can align to enterprise services, and where we really need to tailor things to meet our specific mission needs. And third, You just can't lift and shift. I highlight that in every single talk that I do in regards to our effort because technology by itself doesn't fix underlying problems, right? So our A365 migrations made that very clear. You can't take legacy processes, workflows, and habits and then simply move them onto a new platform and expect a different outcome. If you really want to unlock the value of modernization, you have to be willing to rethink how the work gets done, how data flows, how decisions are made, and then how people interact with those specific tools. And there's also a broader lesson in all this around change management, right? Technology is often the easiest part. The harder part is really helping the organization adapt, getting buy-in, building trust, and then making sure that people understand not just what's changing, but why it matters. And if you don't bring the workforce along, even the best technical solution is going to struggle. So if there's a common thread across all of these lessons, it's this. Modernization isn't just about new tools or new platforms. It's about evolving how you operate as an organization. And when you get that right, the technology becomes an enabler instead of a constraint.
Pearls of wisdom for all of us. We really do appreciate it. All right, we're going to crank it up a little bit here. Let's go to Richard. Top lesson learned as you're going on this journey with these agencies in the private sector, et cetera. Number one lesson learned.
I think the biggest lesson we've seen is that modernization alone doesn't automatically improve operations, right? How many times have we seen people buy technology to solve a problem and the technology doesn't solve the problem because you need to operationalize and modernize the rest of the business in line with that. So what we're actually working a lot with our customers on is what we call a DexOps framework. And DexOps is really a set of best practices and a philosophy around how you really run an end user computing part of your business with an employee first mindset. And it's a set of guidelines, it's a set of best practices around people, around the processes, around the technology, but also around how you communicate that and how you track and realize value from your investment. And by putting that into place and guiding people on with this framework, what we've seen is a transition of organizations from that reactive model we talked about previously in firefighting to a more proactive, preventative model where they're actually able to spend their time working on bigger mission critical activities versus them firefighting all the issues that happen. And that journey, the final thing I'll say on that journey that we're seeing is a modernization of the workforce as well, a reskilling of the workforce. AI has been talked about today, but there's a big concept in the industry around AI supervision. As you start to bring in these different technologies, the roles are changing. An L1 support technician that takes those calls and is helping people when they've got a technology issue, if those calls aren't coming in because you're being more proactive and preventative, then they can be reskilled to do different roles. And we're seeing this change in organizations of people skills to adapt to this more modern automated world that delivers much better employee results and ultimately mission outcomes.
Pushing up that value chain. I love it. John, top
So,
lesson learned from Verizon.
so one of the things is don't put a square peg into a round hole. Really, it needs to be clear what your mission is. You need to be agile. Things change. Technology changes as well. Fail fast, and you need to be willing to have the right people at the right time. Culture is extremely important. We win as a team. We will celebrate together and stay on the journey. The journey may change, but the ultimate endpoint, we need to get to that endpoint and see it through.
The basic principles in the book, Who Moved My Cheese, still reign supreme to this day. Melanie, top lessons learned. Let's go with the top lesson learned that you want to impart as you all are on this journey that you'd like to share with the audience.
Just agreeing with the colleagues on the panel this afternoon. Richard said at the people process technology, people, when you look at it, that's the glue, right? As we look to modernize, as we look towards modernization in other areas that we're pushing towards, we cannot miss that people part. People. The technology is going to work. It's the culture shift, as John just talked about. We can deploy the best tools, but people don't like to hear about governance. The training has to come along with it. There's stakeholder buy-in, there's adoption. All of those things must be infused to make whatever this new shiny technology instrument that we are putting out there to our colleagues successful. So I'll just drop it there.
Right. Great story about the general with the AI. And one, are they even using it? Two, do they know they can use it? Three, are they afraid of it? Right. All right, Michael, top lesson learned with Avanti.
Yeah, I think Melanie really hit the nail on the head there, right? With it being around people. For us, as we think about how do we secure a device as well as possible so that we could deliver the mission appropriately and safely, while also not negatively impacting the user experience is so important, right? So we stay super close to our agencies, we stay super close to our mission partners, get a good understanding of what's working and what isn't working and make sure that that user experience is top notch, right? That they can do the work that they need to do, that everything is just in time and appropriate, but that we're securing the devices appropriately. And finding that balance, I think a lot of it is communication while also having the right technology around it to make sure that we're delivering the right experience for end users.
Absolutely. And great points that you're making there. John, we're going to start with you and we're going to fast forward 2 to 3 years from now and talk about, what's it going to look like 2 to 3 years? We used to go 5 and 7, way too long. 2 to 3 years from now, what can we expect coming out of the Verizon Petri dish, the early adopters into the mainstream?
Well, you're going to see the beginnings of 6G as you're going to hear a lot more about it. And in the future, you're going to see about segregation, network slicing, an integration of multiple technologies working together to get to that end state, really understanding the needs and being very quick. The biggest thing is being able to utilize things like AI so that your network can always be moving and changing as it needs to be. So it's going to be more dynamic, faster, quicker, with a lot more information being shared across the government.
Really do appreciate that and look forward to it. Michael, Avanti, what can we expect 2 to 3 years from now in the ecosystem, right? You all are trying to stitch that together, simplify it, etc. What's the anticipation 3 years from now?
Yeah, really going back to that advise, assist, and automate conversation from earlier, right? Those are key pillars of excellence for us, and it's really around how do we become more predictive in our ability to deliver that for our customers. Getting that automation and integration super tightly integrated with the kind of the security user experience for our users, and ensuring that that is continues to be a very safe and easy to consume capability so that our mission partners and our agencies can be more effective and efficient.
Really do appreciate that. Richard, if we go 2 to 3 years from now, what do you think the focus is going to be as far as that, uh, that employee experience, right? That user experience and sort of metering that and mastering that, if you will.
Yes, I think that there's two angles to it. The first is, we're being very bold at the moment talking about the zero ticket mission. So ultimately, we want to drive out people needing to raise tickets for anything, right? Because we're addressing issues before they become an issue and resolving them at source so it doesn't impact the agencies, the
Boy,
employees.
that's a dream come true for everybody.
Absolutely. Now, there's a reality behind that, but that's really a big focus we have. But I think when you remove the digital blocker from the device and my usage, it touches on something Melanie said earlier on. The other thing we're looking at now is that just-in-time enablement for people to use the systems you've provided them. It's one thing to deploy and modernize, but actually taking employees on that journey, enabling them to actually complete the forms right easily is a big challenge. You look at deployed soldiers who have to do a change of station, right? Fill in legacy applications. They're only doing it once every few years, but it's crucially important to them. And if they get it wrong, it has pretty big impact. So being able to guide somebody on that journey and make it easy for them, that total digital employee experience from both technology and usage of the applications, that's really where we see things going. And almost, just peppering in again. I want to pick on Melanie a little bit here, but something you said, Melanie, right? Why do I need to go and request some paid time off using a complex form when AI could help me do that? Why can't I just say, yeah, I want next Friday off, and it does that for me, processes the request, and gets the approval on my behalf. So that's kind of how we see things moving forward, and some of the things that we're currently working on.
We really do appreciate that and certainly look forward to those capabilities. Melanie, I'm going to slide in as you start talking about your vision, just number one challenge for you as you all sort of go on your journey. What is it? Is it people? Is it acquisition strategies? Is it funding? I know it's kind of all of the above, but if you could just state that out, I'm going to ask you the same thing, and then paint a picture of the future.
Sure. Luke, I like to use the word opportunity. I don't have challenges. I have many opportunities before us. So I would say that one of the number one opportunities, I'll just go back to workforce readiness,
Hmm.
ensuring that our people that are doing the work, that they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform, to provide the services that we provide worldwide, globally, right? And it also ties into the vision for the next 2 to 3 years. We have to make sure that all of the tools that we're placing before them, we have to be able to listen to what the use cases are, the business needs, and understand. And we have to be able to forecast and then adapt, build according to that, to make sure that they have the tools and that we put the proper training, as I already said before, in front of them. Making sure that decision makers have real-time access to integrated data. We do a lot of agency work right now in Safe and Beautiful, where we have agents on the streets with local law enforcement, other federal law enforcement, things of that nature. And one thing that came back to me is, well, they have this tool, why don't we? And I said, oh, really? So we looked into it and we provision that tool for our personnel to have on the street as well. So that collaboration, that integration, I'm looking forward to building more harmony in those areas as we continue to grow throughout the department. Of course, AI is going to be integrated in there. Of course, I've already said the stronger integration with interagency collaboration and things of that nature. Going back to focus on the people. That's the opportunity for us to educate, for us to enable and make sure that they have that just in time. And also the people, the vision. That's what our vision, that's where we're building at for the future.
So I'm a freshly minted 1811. I've got my gun. I got my badge. Maybe you gave me a laptop. I've been assigned to an embassy out in Africa somewhere. Um, Expectation of that individual in regards to mobile technology, is that changing any as well? I would imagine 2 to 3 years from now, it'll be much more enhanced, much more focused.
Yes, one of my colleagues mentioned earlier, I believe it was John, you're going to have access on your phone to do things today that you
Secure
normally
access.
secure access globally. Again, I mentioned biometrics earlier, where we can do a 10 fingerprint in the field and it goes to the proper agency to verify if this is a good or a bad actor, making arrests in the fields and things of that nature, things that they would have to haul people back maybe to a police station or some
Yeah.
other booking location. We do all of these things in the field. Safety first, of course, personnel safety, all of these things. We're doing this in the field today.
Impressive. We really do appreciate that. And I'm sure on behalf of all those folks in the field and in DC and everywhere else, they appreciate it too. Alan, take us home 2 to 3 years from now, but let's get that first opportunity out there, number one opportunity, and then take us home. What's it going to look like 2 to 3 years from now?
Yeah, so I think the big piece, and I think you were talking about it earlier, of challenges, right? Of what we're dealing with, and technical debt is definitely something, and overall complexity is something that we're dealing with. And of course, your standard budget, right? Everybody talks about, funding is a huge piece, and then of course the transitional friction, as we talked about culture and kind of leaning over. But what I see, in the future for specifically for the Corps of Engineers, and really some of this kind of ties into some of the efforts, is an enterprise that's as dynamic and as resilient as our mission, the USACE mission in itself. And when you look out over that 2 to 3 years that we're talking about, for the engineers and teams in the field, it means going to faster, reliable access to the data, applications, and analytics that they depend on. And whether they're responding to a disaster, managing a construction project, or coordinating across districts, less downtime, fewer workarounds, right? That's the thing that you hate as an IT service provider, that your customers have to actually implement workarounds, and then really more time focused on the mission instead of fighting with the technology. For our leader and decision makers, I see it's about a shift in how those decisions are made, right? We could really use that a lot here today, right? Instead of relying on fragmented data or delayed reporting, they'll have access to those integrated near real-time information across the enterprise. And that really changes the speed and quality of the decision making, right? And it positions us to take advantage of the more advanced analytics and over time, what everybody talks about, AI enabled capabilities that can support better planning in the future. So at the end of the day, for us, it really comes down to getting the fundamentals right, getting engineering right, getting the project management right, and getting the business right. And with these technological tools and innovations that I see that we can integrate in and modernize our future, and especially if we stay disciplined in how we execute, we're not just modernizing IT. We're really strengthening for us the core's ability to deliver for the nation, no matter what the mission is.
Absolutely transforming the business, which is awesome by the use of technology. We really do appreciate that. And I want to say thank you to all the guests for taking their time from their busy schedules to join us for this program. I'd like to thank all the sponsors for supporting us on this show. I'd like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank the listening audience out there that tune in every month. You've been listening to the Federal Executive Forum, part of Federal News Network.